A Monday morning means a visit with Mike Irwin from Pig Trail Nation as we get into 2025 a little bit more. Mike, good morning. How's it going today?
Pretty good. I guess I will become this week the media hack, the Kool-Aid drinker, the sunshine pumper, because I'm not freaking out over basketball right now because we're still pretty early in this thing. I noticed that one of these projection services now have them not making the tournament. They've got them, I think, 14th in the SEC listed with a 10% chance of getting in. It's just way too early, guys. They've played three of the best teams in the country and progressively lost by smaller margins each time they played. It's gotten a little closer each time. And so we'll see where it goes with the rest of these teams. They've still got some good teams in front of them, but they've got some teams that you would think are beatable too. But there's nobody that's a guarantee in this league. I've said this before. I think whoever finishes last, if you somehow put them in the NCAA tournament or put them in another conference and let them play in that conference, they might end up being the top 3 or 4 in that conference. That's how good this league is. There's nobody that's really bad.
I'm going to refer to, is it okay if we call you Sunshine Mike throughout the segment now? Because obviously that's the way
we go ahead and do that.
Well, you said the way you're talking about basketball, it sounds a lot like football right now. You know, it's just you are going to be held to a certain standard of a certain amount of wins that you're going to have in order to make the tournament. And right now, there are 15 games left. I don't blame folks for starting to get nervous about this. And the main reason is because the league is so good. But that puts a huge premium on these next 2 games because I feel like Mizzou's a little bit of a surprise the way they've played this year. I think LSU is eminently beatable in their own building, but it also takes them playing their best game in about a month.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to figure. To me, it's not hard to figure out what's going on. We've never had this before, ever. A team rebuilt totally from the top to the bottom. Everybody they have came out of the portal, and that includes Trevin Brazile because he went into the portal and came back out of it. So, you can put the pieces in there. Jimmy Dykes said it on the telecast the other night of the Florida game. He said the pieces are there. They're not coming together yet. And that's what they have to do. And I mean, Jonas Adu talked about after the game. He said he and John L. Davis, Nelly, he said, we realize in our position on our previous teams, all we had to do was score. He said, we're expected to be leaders now because we're older. And he said, neither one of us is a kind of a guy that leads by talking. He said, we always just kind of led by the way we played. And he said, now we're supposed to talk. And he said, how are you supposed to lead guys when you're not scoring a lot right now? And, you've got people saying that Nelly Davis is making so much money that he just doesn't care. I'm not buying that. I don't see somebody that doesn't care. I think he's totally lost right now. He can't figure out what to do because he's not even making layups. He went in and missed a layup there in the second half. He went 0 for 8. And I just think his confidence is shot. And people say, well, how does that affect things? Golf, any sport, golf is the one I think about. Muscle memory is everything. When I start hitting the ball wacky, I start thinking, well, wait a minute, and I'm analyzing my swing in the middle of the swing. Well, what does that do? It makes it worse. Any kind of an action in sports, whether you're shooting a jump shot or whatever you're doing, pitching, trying to throw a curveball, if you analyze that in the middle of it, it's not going to work. So the only way this shooting comes back with any of these guys is if muscle memory takes back over and they're not thinking about it when they're doing it. And I do believe it will happen because I don't think they're shooting poorly just because of the defense they're facing. I see too many guys with wide open shots and they're missing. And they were making those shots in December. So I got to believe some of that's coming back.
Yeah, what do we when I look at the last game, I thought Nine had his best game as far as playing 6'11", 240. There's a couple times he hasn't. I don't know who does DJ Wagner, he's such a dog, man. I love his game. He just not hitting shots. And then and 3 as well. Both of those kids they're uber athletic. They can get to the rim. But what you find out, Mike, is when you can't hit shots, then you can't get to the rim because then they start sinking in a little bit more. And I mean that we're going to have to. I don't know if you can hold Florida to 28 points in the first half, man. That's something to build on right there. I mean, you can play defense if we want to.
Well, I think Cal kind of hinted at it when he said they may have to change who they're playing, and he's talking about going with two bigs. And I think one of the things with Jonas Adu is that he's kind of been, he was injured and then he had the flu and all this stuff, and they weren't used to him scoring, so nobody's looking for him. Well, now all of a sudden the other night, the two times they got the ball to him, when you attack and people fall on you, and then if you can get the ball to him, he's right there with a dunk. So I think the idea is to get more bigs inside and then get more, assists, because you can't have Boogie going in there going up against three guys. They'll just reject the ball and just go in the other direction. So you got to have options. So that may be where he goes. We're still trying to figure
rebounding too, right? Because we keep getting out rebounded.
Yeah, some of that is guys just not being in the right position. When they got down to three and they came back down the floor and played really good defense, and the shot was missed, but what happened there? Brazil was in too tight under the basket, and the guy behind him, he should have been trying to push back and block that guy back further, and the ball went over his outreach and went right back to that guy. He kicks it back out, and they make a three. Now, if you get the ball back there and go down and score, it's a one-point game. So those are things that it's positioning on rebounding. I don't think they're just lazy, but I think the positioning is bad. And some of guys, look, I've always said this. There's an element to basketball that's pure luck when it comes to rebounding, because I've seen it happen too many times. The ball comes off the rim in a weird way, and you happen to be standing right there, and it goes right to you. So it's not always just somebody being lazy, but it is often somebody being out of position, somebody not being physical enough and not backing the person behind them out a little bit away from the basket. There's a lot of little things there, but they do have to rebound better. But look, the biggest problem is shooting. You just can't shoot the way they're shooting right now and expect to beat anybody because you don't generate enough offense.
I've seen those criticisms, or at least the guess that because, X player is making a certain amount of money, that means that he's not giving his best effort. And I think that can often be a lazy way to look at it, because usually you look at professional sports, and if you're going to look at the way the college sports is constructed right now, Mike, every year is a free agent year. The whole story of being a free agent in pro sports is that you have your best season, or you play incredibly well, before you go into free agency, so that you make yourself more marketable. So that's the way I would view being a college athlete right now. Every single year, until they tell you otherwise, is a free agent year. So there's no reason to be lazy. And I'm not saying that's why they're losing. I just think that's a very convenient reason to come up with for other players why your team's not playing well.
Well, a lot of fans are mad at the way things are going right now with these players getting this large amount of money, and so they're just, I don't know, even know if they really believe it, but they're throwing it out there that they've got their money, they don't care. I've never run across an athlete that said to me, I'm making good money. I don't care what happens. They care. If you think that Nellie Davis is walking around whistling and just happy, I guarantee you that guy's miserable right now. He wants to perform. And Cal said something else. He said they're hearing this from all directions right now, and that's an acknowledgement that they know people are all over them. And I think they even have he talked about a moment in that game, and I think it may have been that one of those dish-offs where there was a dunk, and I'm not sure. I think it might have been Adu Theroux, who turned around and gestured to the crowd, and that's one of the few times that a player on this team has tried to generate I think they feel weird in front of this crowd because they're all new and they know they're not performing well. It's like going somewhere and in a play and you're supposed to perform, and then you don't, and you think the crowd hates you, and you just feel weird out there in front of them. So there's not a comfort factor in front of Arkansas's fans because of all these new guys. And it may have to be, guys, it may have to be next year, hopefully, because I've talked to people. How many of these guys would come back? I mean, is Boogie Flan, he's late first-round projection. If he did come back, would he hit the portal for another situation? Who can you keep? Because if you can keep a core of these guys next year and recruit well and then get some guys out of the portal, then I think you've got a better situation. I don't think there's anybody right now in the SEC that's in Arkansas' situation where virtually almost the entire team is new, with a new coach. That's just too much new. So I think they have to move away from that to a certain extent. But some of the stuff that's being said is idiotic. There was a guy on Facebook that said this is the worst Arkansas team since Nolan's first team. I mean, give me a break. Don't say stupid stuff like that. Cal's coaching reminds him of Pelfrey's coaching. I mean, I know they're mad and they're exaggerating for effect, but this is what happens in this day and age. When people get mad, then they just completely exaggerate everything. It's bad enough as it is. Don't make it worse.
Hey, Mike, Dallas Cowboys, they're letting Coach McCarthy go. What do you think there? Who do you think they'll go after?
Well, I got no idea. At least they did that, because I thought they might not.
So you like that move?
Yeah, I think you got to do something. Now, the best thing that would happen is if Jerry Jones said he's turning the running of the team over to his son, Stephen Jones. Just do that. And then everybody would be happy, and that hasn't happened. But, that's where you start, and then you've just got to start making some sense with what you pay certain players, who do you keep. It's not just who you draft, it's who you give up and who do you trade for and things like that. I don't see any kind of quick fix for Dallas. I don't. They just got a lot of issues right now.
BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, and college basketball to NHL and UFC. Head to BetOnline today and don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here.